What's up, deep thinkers? It's Robert from Existence First. And what I want to talk to you about today is this concept of exchange and how we can apply this to the meaning of life. So, when I was in college, I was living in the dorms my freshman year, and almost half the floor was like football players, right? These big dudes, freaking ripped. And, anyways, one day, one of them is walking down the hallway, and I overhear him say to his friend, "Hey, David, let me give you 25 cents for a ramen noodle." You know what I'm talking about, right? And and it seems like such a trivial statement, right? Oh, yeah, let me give you 25 cents for one of your ramen noodles, right? I'm hungry. But at the time, I remember just this strange feeling like this is significant. This tells me something about the human condition. This tells me something about human psychology. Okay. Fast forward over 10 years later to today, when I find myself, well, I notice these patterns, right? Let's say if I take a day off of work, or people that I know, they take a day off of work or something, or work is canceled, or they've got suddenly all of this unstructured time, right? And let's say that they spend this time by themselves. What happens is they kind of go into this state of like almost leaning towards chaos, or how do I explain it? Sometimes people want to go back to work, right? As counterintuitive as that may seem. And at that point, that's when I realize that the work, like being paid in money, is not the only way that we get paid by the things we do, especially through work, right? We get paid through, well, I work in social services, so many times there's a feeling that the work is rewarding, right? So that's one way we get paid. There's a satisfaction we can take from the continual improvement of our skills and mastery of the skills, right? So there's a lot of ways that we get paid or compensated, or right. It's an exchange essentially, right? So there's this. I often hear this phrase that we need human contact, right? Which, yeah, okay, there's some truth to that, but you could spend the day on a New York subway surrounded by a bunch of people shoulder to shoulder, and yet you could feel extremely lonely. And why is that? It's because you're not exchanging, right? Um, let's say you were on that subway, but you smiled at someone and they smiled back to you, or you smiled at a small child and they smiled back to you, right? I mean, right there, then that's exchange. Now you might feel a little less lonely. Okay, it's always funny when in public when there's a parent like carrying like a newborn or like a toddler or something, and then some stranger like starts waving at the kid, and then to see how the kid reacts, right? Well, that's exchange right there, that's exchange. And so we have to ask, what kinds of exchange are there? I mean, it's not just human to human exchange. There's also exchange with our physical environment. This guy who used to come to my philosophy group, he really likes to work around the house and do these little home improvement projects, right? He does this, and he gets a high level of satisfaction from the work that he does. There's a quote from John Steinbeck's book, The Grapes of Wrath, and it's a great quote. Let me just read like one sentence from it. It's really long, but I'll just read one sentence. It says, "The last clear, definite function of man. Muscles aching to work. Minds aching to create beyond the single need. This is man. To build a wall, to build a house, a dam, and in the wall and house and dam to put something of man's self, and to man's self take back something of the wall, the house, the dam." Right? So building something, getting some pride from having built it, maybe recognition from others, right? And so we start to see this exchange happening, or we start to see it in the structure. of exchange. See, this is like the structure of meaning of life, right? Exchange here. You post something on Facebook, other people like it, and they share it, right? And you feel good, and there's this sort of exchange. You put something out, they give you something back, which is what? That's reciprocity. Now, how deep does this go? Okay. Reciprocity, if you read anything by Franz de Waal, who's a very cool primatologist, studies humans and other non-human primates, right? He observes reciprocity in other non-human primates, such as chimpanzees, monkeys, etc., where, if one chimpanzee does something for another, the other one will reciprocate, right? And so it shows that this behavior, psychologically speaking, goes back millions of years, right? And why is it, why did it start? Well, it was advantageous to survival, right? So we have to start seeing today's psychology problems as byproducts or offshoots of these evolutionary tendencies, or these tendencies that evolved throughout time. A very basic version, or a concrete version, because there's abstract and concrete, right? Concrete is like you touch the fire and it hurts, right? That's just part of the way that the pain receptors are wired in the brain and everything, because that helps our survival if we have that response. Like, it should hurt when we touch fire, right? Take it up a little bit, a few levels up in abstractness, and you've got loneliness. Loneliness should hurt, because in evolution, if you were alone and not in a tribe, that would hurt your survival, right? So it should hurt psychologically, right? And so if we have this phenomenon where people, when they're exchanging, then they feel better, then we need to acknowledge first that that's how we're wired. Second, that's where it came from, right? Long time ago. And number 3, we work with it. And so we start to see the world and our lives in terms of exchange, right? What if you viewed you have one life on this planet, you have one existence here, of just a finite number of years to interact with this world, this planet, with other people. What if you viewed your life as a series or a collection of exchanges? From birth, the moment you're born, to the moment that you die, you're basically involved in various exchanges. Okay, what if you viewed life like that? Would you behave differently? Would you spend time with different people? Would you choose to exchange with different people? Would you start putting things out that you were, creative ideas that you were up until now holding in, because you were afraid that if you shared them, maybe people wouldn't like it? You feared how the exchange would go. Don't do that, right? If you've got these ideas, it's important to share them, right? There's a really moving quote that, well, never mind, I won't go into that. It's going to digress me. Okay, so that's the point, okay? What if you viewed your life and your whole day, all of your days, as these exchanges, right? And then you ask yourself, what's the quality of the stuff that you're putting out? What's the quality of your exchanges, right? Are you reciprocating to others? What do you have to offer? What are you putting out? And so anytime that you might be like upset, disappointed, sad, or whatever, I would ask what's being exchanged right now. What's being exchanged? So I think if we look at it from that lens, it's going to lead to a lot of new insights, a lot of new ways of, a lot of new understandings that will be a result of a new lens and a new paradigm. All right, think deeply, put your existence first.